Hello there, welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga show with me, your host, Agostinho Zinga. This is episode number 269. That's Dos Seis Nuevo. Dos Seis Nuevo. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are doing great. Amazing. Cool. Great. Peace. I'm feeling amazing, as you can tell. I'm a bit cold this morning. That's why I've got a jacket on and a hat. You know, this is what I'm going to wear to work and stuff, but still, I'm going to wear this all the way until I finish this podcast. But yeah, it's flipping freezing out there. I decided to go to the gym this morning wearing shorts and a jacket, so that's probably why I'm extra cold. Then I came back and had a cold shower. That's why I'm super cold, and now I'm just cold. But you know, it is what it is. What can you do? Hope you guys are well, hydrated and rested. It is now Tuesday. You weekend warriors have a long way to go until that happens. So if you're counting down the days and hoping to get to that hallowed day where you go out and get fucked up, you got a long way to go. If you know, the best way to go around is just to kind of, you know, change the way you look at days and think, you know what, actually the day thing isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is I've got the opportunity to open my eyes, look across my window and see the sunset. Or better yet, listen to this podcast, isn't it? What a blessing. What a blessing it is to be right here in front of me in front of you, coming through your earbuds, or sometimes maybe coming directly through your screen. As per usual, if you're watching via the podcast app or listening via the podcast app, actually, leave me a 5-star review so people can find the show. Leave a little note. Let me know what you like about the show. If you're watching via the YouTube app, of course, smash that like button. Leave me a comment. Subscribe to come back another time. And also check out the clips I have on my channel. They should be recommended on the side. But if not, just click my channel. You can see the links, the little clips I have there on my playlist, Agostinho Zinga clips. And you'll be able to see them there. And check out some of the other topics I speak about in other podcast shows. As per usual, this podcast is mostly streetwear. That's the number one streetwear podcast in the world. But I try to frame streetwear under the premise of, you know, electronic music, DJ culture, art, streetwear, of course, fashion, sneakers, tech stuff, just general news. So if you like all that sort of malarkey, then definitely keep in touch there. And of course, I have my other podcast that I do too, called the Stratford Red Devils, where I specifically speak about Manchester United, being a London-based Man United fan. So if you want some football chat, check out my other podcast, which is Stratford Red Devils. You'll be able to find that in all your places where you listen to podcasts, or there'll be a link in the description below for you to click on. Okay, we're in the show 269. Let's get it going. So much to talk about, so much to get into. A couple of topics I missed from the other day. But number one thing that I'm interested in, you know, you hear a lot from people. You hear this common adage trotted out by people, especially successful people that are in the limelight. They often say, "Oh, haters and all that sort of stuff." You never see someone will say you'll never see a high performer in someone's comments like trashing them, right? It's usually people that are, you know, on the sidelines watching, you know, from the outside looking in, wanting to get involved, and the only way they feel like they can get involved is to trash the so-called celebrity. And then you get this idea that, you know, once you get in, that's one thing you hear a lot of people say. And then they also say, once you get in, once you make it, you know, suddenly everything will change. Yeah, you will suddenly change a new person. Your work ethic will change. You have a different perspective on life, and you just attack things a bit different than what you did previously. And I don't believe it either. I think there is probably a huge community of aspiring actresses, actors, sports people, personalities out there who have burner accounts or who have made up accounts, fake accounts under, you know, different names, where they go on celebrities in their immediate circle, people that they don't like, who are in their kind of entertainment group circle, because, you know, you can't publicly trash somebody else in the entertainment industry, because essentially you might burn a bridge or you might get yourself blackballed. So I'm pretty sure there's celebrities out there who trash their colleagues, so to say, on those social media platforms in order to kind of bring them down, so that in their head it can give them opportunity to kind of come up, which is obviously, you know, famine. It's a kind of a famine mindset, but, you know, there's some maybe credence to that. And on the other side, I also think the idea that suddenly once you get the opportunity to shine, and once you finally get an in the industry, that suddenly all your bad behaviors and bad character traits and the things that have kind of inevitably led to this point where you're in your life at the moment will suddenly go away is false. And one example of that is Andy Ruiz Jr. As you guys are aware, Andy Joshua beat Andy Ruiz Jr. unanimously via decision. And he effectively won all 12 rounds and, you know, displayed a complete boxing clinic, I would say. I was very surprised by the performance, but no, I wasn't very surprised. I was very impressed by the performance. I wasn't surprised by it. I told my friend beforehand when we would go watch it in a pub in Hackney Wick, or in Hackney Central, sorry. I was of the assumption that because there was so much riding on this fight, even though I'm pretty sure if he would have lost, Andy Joshua's bank account wouldn't have suffered that much, but I don't think he's in it for the bank account. It seems like he's in it for the legacy. I think his legacy would have got tarnished somewhat, and the way boxing's set up, the fact that we don't get the fights that we want when we want them, as opposed to UFC fights, I think if he would have lost against Andy Ruiz Jr., it would have just delayed his ultimate success. It would have just added a few more years into the timeline of him getting to where he wants to get to. So I don't think it would have negatively impacted him that bad, but I think in terms of his career trajectory, and maybe him personally in mental space, it would have maybe affected him somewhat. But I also was under the assumption that Andy Joshua is the kind of person that doesn't need to be told twice certain things. I think he got taught a lesson in the first fight. He got told not to believe the hype. I think that's probably the turning point in his career in terms of not being swayed either way by the court of public opinion, especially boxing experts, because boxing is a weird one. Unlike football, most of the boxing analysts that speak on TV or on YouTube channels are people that boxing fanatic people highly respect, because they've got skin in the game. They've been part of the process. They were managers, they were agents, they were boxers themselves, amateur level, professional level, whatever it may be. So they've got actual knowledge of it. So that is cool. As opposed to maybe football, where a lot of the ex-pundits, especially the pundits who are ex-footballers, don't seem like they actually enjoy watching football. You know, you only have to look at the ESPN FC kind of crew. A lot of the Scottish guys on there tend to, they kind of attract most people who don't necessarily like watching football, but it's the easiest thing that comes to them. They don't really have any other option, in life, basically. So they have to just commentate on games they hate, or watch teams they don't really like too much, or even players they don't really support too often. But boxing is different in that way. So I'd assume if you're an Andy Joshua and you lose to Andy Ruiz Jr. and you hear all the professionals in your industry effectively telling you what to do and you don't do it, it can maybe feel as if like you're writing your own death sentence. But I'm glad he didn't listen. I'm glad he kind of stuck by his trainer. I'm glad he adopted this approach to the fight. He could have went in there with a chip on his shoulder, with his ego tarnished to some extent, and wanted to basically enact revenge on him, right? And also set a marker down. But the most important thing, especially he knows in the boxing business, is him to get his W back, right? The fact that if he would have had back-to-back losses, it's not really similar to UFC in that way at all. I think in boxing, the fact that he's got one loss in his record, in some people's eyes, will tarnish his record, which is ridiculous to say that. Because if you're in a division where everyone's good, you might lose. So I don't think that was a big deal. So I don't think that would have been that big of a deal. But again, in boxing world, it might have been. Anyway, the whole point of this ramble was to say that Andy Ruiz Jr. is an example that just because you've made it, or just because you get the chance to make it, doesn't mean you're going to suddenly change your bad behaviors. And I don't know if it's not been spoken about as often or as more as it probably should have, but Andy Ruiz Jr.'s confession after the fight when he lost, and he said, one of the reasons why he thinks he lost is because he didn't listen to his manager, he didn't listen to his coach, who happens to be his dad, and his trainer and stuff, and his nutritionist, to get into better shape ahead of the fight. He just went off the rails, started partying and eating loads. And I'm sitting there thinking, what in the fuck, right? He came into this fight 20 stone overweight than his previous fight. So whatever he fought Joshua at previously, he must have been 260. And he came into this fight against Joshua this time around at 280. And I knew it anyway, because I remember watching the fight and thinking to myself, well, I even mentioned it to my friend actually, why is Ruiz Jr. still got his t-shirt on for? He's doing that classic fat boy thing where you don't like to take your t-shirt off until you start fighting, which is insane. But I just in general, just imagine this is the biggest fight of your career, right? The fight that's going to, I say more so than the first fight, because the first fight he wouldn't have got that good of a split in terms of the money, the revenue, the gate and stuff, because he was essentially he came in lastminute.com as cover because Big Baby Miller got popped for $1 million drugs. Yeah, this fight is the one that really sets him up. The first one was just like a little taste of what's to come, but defense of the title. He wins again against Joshua, proves unanimously that he is the better fighter, and then goes on to do whatever he wants after the fact. And then you decide to mess it up this way? Like, that's insane. I don't know, man. I'm just flabbergasted, really. I'm really taken aback by it. This is a quick video of him saying it via Hub TV. Actually, let me pause this. I'm not sure if it's going to play now because I didn't put the thing on properly there. But let me see if I can play it. I need to put it. I'm not sure if it's going to work now, but hopefully it does. But this is him talking about it.
missing training, and like I said, I don't want to have no excuses, but I know I'm gonna work my ass off. And look, and if we would have went toe to toe, I think that's when I was connecting. But I know for the trilogy, I know I'm gonna be a lot better, and it doesn't matter where it's at. If it's here, even better. I want to redeem myself here in Saudi Arabia.
How are you feeling physically after the fight? Are you okay? Like, are you?
I don't understand why he thinks he's gonna get a trilogy. I really don't get that. Like, why would he give you a trilogy fight? Like, there's no point. There's no need. Like, if anything, this fight proved, if anything, this fight proved Joshua's point that it was a punch from the gods. Even though it was a bit of a, bitter thing to say because he lost the fight, obviously, but Ruiz didn't get close. He clipped him a couple of times, but that was it. He didn't get close. Joshua delivered a complete boxing clinic, kept him away with a jab, and essentially dominated the entire fight. Why would we want to see a third rematch? Unless, of course, boxing is ridiculous and they decide to do a trilogy because, boxing never gives you a fight that you want. And I think Wilder and Fury are signed to separate contracts, right? Separate, like, exclusive deals with different promotion companies. So they're tied up in that. So they can't necessarily fight anyone else, I don't think. So we might get the trilogy, but he's got an immediate title defense, right? Andy Joshua, like a mandatory defense he has to fight. I think the Usyk dude, he's got to fight really soon. Again, I'm no expert. I'm just kind of been following this as a general public, as general audience member, but I just don't understand this. I really don't get it. I really don't.
Your injury is all right. Just wanted to check on you.
Yeah, I'm okay. Besides the cut that I have, I'm just a little disappointed. And me and my dad and my team were talking that I should have listened to them, and I shouldn't have put on all this weight. I try to kind of do the training on my own, and
imagine how insane that must sound to somebody. Andy Ruiz Jr., the guy, like, now everything makes sense. If you hadn't heard of him previously, now you know why. He essentially self-sabotages and doesn't really take stuff seriously, even though he's obviously insanely talented at the sport that he's chosen, which is boxing, which he's been doing since he's 5 years old or some shit, right? He's coming into one of the biggest fights of his life. The first time around, he won unexpectedly, but instead of just copying what he did the first time around and improving on it, he decides to throw out that manual, throw out that handbook, and just do it on his own. I'm just going to do it my way. What's your way mean? What, eat like 1 million tacos and then run a couple of miles? That is insane. That level of, like, carelessness is just crazy to me. But again, it goes to show that adage that people say, oh, once you get in the industry, once someone gives you a look, or once you get given a cosign, all of a sudden you're going to change your ways. No. The way you approach a boxing fight in a sports hall somewhere in the middle of nowhere town, getting paid your ticket, your bloody meal ticket there, and maybe petrol money, is the same way you're going to approach a big fight in Saudi Arabia. I don't care. It's the same thing. The same way I would approach a DJ bar gig in the middle of some, random bar somewhere that no one's going to, that is completely empty, is the same way I'm going to approach a DJ gig when I eventually go play at Printworks. It's the same way. If I'm diligent in the smaller things, I'm going to be even more diligent when it comes to bigger things, because I know I know where I've come from, and I know how quickly it is I can suddenly go back there again after a few duddy fights. And boxing's the same as any entertainment industry is. If he decides to pull in a few more of these performances where he comes in shockingly overweight, he can't take off his top during open workouts, he looks like a guy you see in a local pub, and I don't care. The truth of the matter is, when you're watching sports, you're watching elite level of combat, you want to see the best physical specimens in front of you, in front of TV. That's just what it is. I'm sorry, you can't have a person looking like that. It's not even Mark Hunt looking where he just looks stocky. He just looks completely fat. He's obese. And he comes into a fight looking like that, wanting to fight someone like an Andy Joshua, who has spent the last few months trying to understand why he lost. He's been going through in his head mentally, replaying that loss in his head again and again and again. And Andy Joshua, who's a really stocky guy, somehow was able to lose 20 pounds of muscle and came in the leanest he's ever looked in a while. And yet you do this.
And I'm sorry, man. And sorry to my dad. I should have listened to them more. I think I got too confident on myself. And like I said, there's no excuses. He won. I won one, and I know for the third one I'm going to be a lot better.
No one's going to give you a third fight, but also it's a cautionary tale, isn't it? It goes to show you, it is a cautionary tale when they say, once you get the hardest thing is staying at the top. The hardest thing is being a champion. The hardest thing is maintaining an unbeaten record because everyone's sniping at you, and you have to maintain a standard. That's especially if you're like a. That's probably why John Jones suffers so much in his career outside the octagon, and inside the octagon. He's been clearly so much better than everyone else that he's come across in his last few fights, with the exception of maybe Gustafsson one. He's been light years ahead of everybody. He basically can beat everyone in their sleep. He faced, Thiago Santos. He could have taken Thiago Santos down anytime he wanted, but instead chose to fight him standing up, even though Thiago Santos had one leg, right? He's been so dominant, so good for so long that it's not crazy to think that he might be a little bit reckless and might not take things that seriously sometimes. He might end up doing, blow off a stripper's ass before a fight, not training before a lead up to a big title fight, and just turn up and still mollywop people. I get it, but Andy Ruiz is not the same. You're not a once-in-a-lifetime talent. You obviously haven't proved yourself that level. This is why you were given a last-minute shot out of the blue against Anthony Joshua, which you probably didn't deserve on the strength of your record. And then you get a second opportunity to cement your legacy, to really, like, if you fought, and that's the thing, you have to think about it. If the first bit of money was like 7 mil, which after taxes and paying your trainers doesn't leave you that much, especially living the way he lived. He went and bought cars. I remember seeing a picture of him. He bought cars and bought I was just thinking, this guy's insane. He bought his mum a couple of houses or one house, whatever it may be. That money runs out quickly. It's a second go around that really is going to sustain the wealth of your family for generations to come, because you would have learned some lessons from the first batch of money. So if he was to get 7 this time around, then he got a 13 guaranteed second time around. That would have then meant his next few fights after that would be at a certain level, regardless. It'll be minimum 10 mil upwards. That's when you're really cementing your family's legacy, and the sponsors start coming out the woodworks because they know you've got a title defense under your belt. You're going to be around with a title for maybe a year or two, and you threw that all away for what? For what? A couple glasses of rum?
Back here. When did you know in camp that you hadn't trained enough? Was there a point where you said to myself, "Man, it's too late now, and I should have trained more"?
There was, when you woke up, and I think we started too late. And we I don't want to say the 3 months of partying or of that I had celebrating and whatnot kind of.
Okay, let's be fair. He won against Anthony Joshua, a freak of an athlete, the icon of the UK. Cool, no problem. You're allowed a week. You're allowed 2 weeks. Maybe even 3. Okay, I'll give you a month. 3 months of partying and celebrating? 3 months? That's why I like football. I like other sports where they win a championship and either the coach decides they just start again tomorrow, like nothing happened, and you just start again. You just go and train on Monday morning. Or if you did win a big game on a Sunday, a cup final, whatever it means, like Rangers v Celtic, the boss gives you a 1 day off. You get the Monday off, right, to go and have a couple of drinks, celebrate with your family, celebrate with your teammates, and then, go to bed and come to training on Tuesday morning. Cool. But 3 months of celebrating ahead of one of the biggest fights of your life. Because he could just disappear after this. He might end up fighting OTs. That'll be cool. But or Wilder might want to take him apart to prove a point. But he could disappear after this. And then what?
Affect me because to tell you the truth, it kind of did. But what can I say? Just learn this mistake, and I'm glad I learned it now.
I don't support him. It's not a mistake to learn at this level. I don't support this guy, man. I think he's a waste of space. I don't support it. I think at that level of excellence, at that level of performance, you have to bring the pressure. You have to bring the pain. You have to bring the commitment. You have to bring the heart. Like, it's so disappointing to see. Imagine, I'm just thinking about it. Imagine all these years of me DJing in my living room, DJing in random bars and pubs that no one cares about, right? Doing my thing, grinding, uploading mixes on fucking SoundCloud, getting 1 play, 2 plays, 100 plays, 1,000 plays, whatever it may be. And then suddenly, over a period of 18 months, I suddenly blow up overnight, quote unquote. I get opportunity to go play with some of my favorite clubs, Fold, XOYO, The Cause, Printworks, Mixed Garage, The Yard. I go and play at some of my favorite places. Someone sees me, I get signed to an agency, I get booked to go play at Junction 2, Deck Mantle, a Boiler Room appearance. Imagine those things happen, and then that one opportunity I get to go actually take my stuff to the next level, I turn up high. I turn up and I haven't mixed for like seven months prior to it. I haven't bought any new tunes. I've not been watching other DJs. I've not been listening to new albums. Imagine. That's ridiculous. Like, honestly, it's so like heartbreaking to see somebody have that level of opportunity and just throw it all away. For what? To party with people who didn't care about you before you were this successful? That's the problem. All these hangers on that he got because he had a belt were there specifically because of the belt. He's going to wake up the next day and realize how lonely he actually really is. The real level of friendship that he has. Because the friends that were with you when you were a dusty dude before the Joshua fight are still going to be there. But the friends that suddenly jumped onto you when you bought a bunch of white cars and you started dressing weird, which is a direct contrast to Andy Joshua, who's probably, you know, a lot more wealthier than Ruiz, but spent the entire training camp without a haircut. Looked like, you know, he hadn't slept in 11 days, was training every single minute of the day, and remained completely stoic throughout the whole process. Even when he won, he was like, look, I'm not going to over-celebrate because I should have done this in the first fight. That's why I love the guy, because we have the same mentality. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I should already be here. So I'm just going to perform the way I know how I can perform. Do my thing and go. It's not, I'm not building this up as this, it's a make or break moment. No. I've been working for this moment my whole entire life. I messed up that first fight, and now I'm going to reclaim my rightful position. Whew. I don't know, man. Anyway, that's one piece of news that I thought was just completely shocking to me, but you know, maybe it's just me. But anyway, let's move on to that one. Let's move on to the next topic here. We have an update on the away luggage or the away travel. I'm not sure how they phrase themselves, right? Are they away luggage or away travel? Anyway, you guys are aware, I've spoken about it previously in my other podcast episode about the CEO Steph Korey, I think, or Steph Korey. Right, Stephanie Korey, CEO of Away, has now been replaced or has effectively stepped down due to the controversy that happened a couple of weeks or a couple of days ago. So if you're not familiar, The Verge published a really scathing editorial piece. Some people claim there's a hit piece, but it's not a hit piece. It was factual reportage of events happening at the workplace, which, if anything, were very similar to the experiences that I've had in startups, where essentially you are led under the stewardship of a very toxic CEO or founder who who I have sympathy for, because at most times it's because they're heavily invested in the product or the services that they founded, right? It's their little baby. So they feel like they have to micromanage things. They're always on tender hooks, especially sometimes if the random investment hasn't gone as well. There's a lot of pressure happening there. And sometimes it happens to seep through in the way that they kind of operate as an effective founder, effective CEO, which can lead to some batshit crazy ways of conducting business, like in the Away company where they weren't allowed to email each other, weren't allowed to have private groups. You know, the constant need to have people come in to work outside of their working hours. They couldn't take holidays off. Just a really toxic environment, and didn't necessarily bring the best out of most employees, right? They were under the assumption that every employee wanted to be a founder, when in fact most employees just want to be employees. They want to earn a good living, they want to do right by their family and keep it moving. So this is an update from The Verge that basically elaborates on what's happened post the article coming out. So the story says the following: Away replaced the CEO Steph Korey after the Verge investigation. This is it here. It says the following: Away CEO Steph Korey is stepping down just 4 days after an investigation at The Verge highlighted the company's toxic culture. Korey, one of the luggage brand's co-founders, will be replaced by former Lululemon executive Stuart Haselden, though Korey will still continue on as executive chairman. Basically, she's been iced out. The news comes after days of public backlash due to the leaked documents showing Korey routinely intimidated employees on public Slack channels. After The Verge initial story broke, news leaks showed Away was directing employees not to engage with the article, even from personal social media accounts, which is the craziest thing, right? Imagine doing an expose. Imagine The Verge doing an expose of Away. On the Away side of it, they have to be aware of, they have to be knowledgeable that the reason why some of that stuff has got out is because there's moles or there's leaks in your own organization. So for that same company to then decide to publicly announce on their Slack channel and to kind of tell their employees not to engage the article is ridiculous and quite stupid, really, isn't it? Like, ridiculously stupid. Ridiculously stupid. And again, someone took another screenshot of it, uploaded it onto somewhere, and then sent it to The Verge. The Verge got a hold of it and published it straight away. It's like, what are you doing? Like, honestly, what are you doing? Away does not allow employees to email each other and ask that direct messages be kept to a minimum. The result is in almost all conversations take place on the public Slack channel, which of course is the most toxic thing ever. If you're familiar with managers in your workplace to do that thing where they Slack you a request and then they email you a request in the chain of and CC everybody else and bold it and make it look as if they've been harassing you and they've been trying to get your attention in 3 different channels and you've been ignoring them. That's similar to the Slack public chat kind of talk. I've never been a fan of it. I've never been a fan of Slack anyway. I think it's very distracting. You add Slack on top of an open workspace and you effectively just got a ticking time bomb of distraction, right? Pings coming at you, especially in workplaces where I think I've worked somewhere like this before where they told you to always have your notifications on. It's like, no, if you need to announce something, gather us all as a group or send us all an email. I'm not going to stand there and wait for a ping so I can know what's going on and to kind of get my attention and shit. That doesn't work that well. And again, open workspaces just invite people to come over and just disturb you for no reason, sorry. It continues here. Slack channels where executives give harsh feedback and reprimand people for small mistakes. You could hear her typing and you knew something bad was going to happen, a former employee told The Verge. Korey publicly apologized for her behavior the day after the story broke, saying she was appalled. Where is it again? She made a statement, right? Let me quickly read that statement because I didn't actually read her statement. What was the statement that she made? Steph Korey, where is she? There we go. I do feel kind of sorry for her though, because you are a co-founder of a brand, and because it's publicly listed or publicly traded, you're now been ousted out of your own company just due to your own bad behavior, which is really, really sad. It's already sad already when people lose their jobs anyway, but when you're the actual founder of the company, co-founder of it, they were the darlings of Silicon Valley at some point because, there were 2 female co-founders, which shouldn't be important, but it is. And also it goes to show that, the toxic behavior in startups or in small businesses isn't only limited to men. Power corrupts everybody in some respects. So here we go. So this is her apology, which obviously was a precursor to her basically stepping down. It says the following here. Starting and growing a company is incredibly hard, and I've made mistakes as we built away. Of course you have. At times I express myself in ways that hurt the team. I can imagine how people felt reading those messages. I was appalled and embarrassed reading them myself. I'm not proud of my behavior in those moments, and I'm sincerely sorry for what was said, how I said it, and I was wrong. Plain and simple. Since last year's incidents, I've worked hard to improve as a leader, which we haven't heard really. I think, again, you're just trying to... I think you should just left it at that and said, I'm sorry, I'm going to try to do better later. I think continuing it and saying that you're improving yourself isn't true because no one mentioned it in the article. Or maybe they didn't mention it because they wanted to, throw under the bus, but it didn't seem like anyone mentioned that she's changed as the years gone by. I've worked hard to improve as a leader, working closely with an executive coach and building a leadership team I can lean on and learn from. It's my responsibility to examine my actions and to set not just the standards for our work, but the standards for our behavior toward each other and the tone for the culture we want, one that is in line with the brand we convey. I know I have more work to do and I'll do better for the team. You're not going to do better now, is it? It seems, unfortunately. Brands get nervous, innit? They get nervous. So the public perception is so as much as people try to tell you not to pay attention to social media, not to read your comments, big companies do the exact opposite, innit? The moment people start to and it's even a small minority. I don't think your general away customer cares an iota about this issue, right? The moment a small minority of people make some noise, and again, I don't think the whole majority of the workforce in a way is actually affected by this either. It might just be a small, especially the decision makers. I don't think if you work in the store, you probably have felt the pressure from Korey in this regard, this Steph Korey woman. Probably not. I wouldn't imagine so. But the moment you make some noise and it kind of starts to shake up on the media circuits, the people in the boardroom start to get a bit nervous. Public perception is everything to them because, if public perception dwindles for Away, which is essentially a luggage company that no one really needs, the company is gone and all of a sudden the investment's gone down the toilet. And if there's anything we know, rich people, if people don't like losing money, rich people don't like losing money even more. Do you know what I mean? But they want to hold on to theirs, which makes sense, and they work hard for it. On a company level, she says on a statement here, over the last 12 months, we've invested in creating a culture that allows our people to thrive, including executive coaching to our senior staff, diversity, inclusion training, all this bullshit stuff that we don't need to learn about. We encourage employees to share our concerns in HR. We read in the article, doesn't reflect our company. Anyway. So she apologized. She said sorry, but sorry is too late for that. Employees voiced their skepticism that executive would actually change. It's not like this was the first time she needed reprimanding for management and conduct, one former worker told The Verge. She knows exactly how she's hurt, and she just has issues, a hum ho-hum blanket apology as a public feels like it's all done, which I think is justified for stepping down. I think there needs to be, as much as it kind of pains me to see the WeWork founder kind of, get ousted from his own company and then get a $200 million settlement, right? Which is insane. Only in startup land can you fail and still get money, right? Companies raise investment, run away with people's money. The company fails and then they still get to hold on to the money, or the money kind of, springs them into another occupation, similar to kind of Nicholas Oliver from People.io formerly, a complete crook and a complete charlatan who basically ran away and didn't pay any of his employees, including myself, any of the funds that we were owed. I think it's been a year now since we haven't been paid our salary, and he's now gone up and set up another company that he's also trading under. So I think that happens a lot, but there needs to be some consequences for leading a company and basically infesting it, because we don't know how long this is going to take to recover. Because sometimes this sort of bad behavior, it then festers into other people. Middle management starts to adopt this same kind of behavior because that's how they know how to get far in a company. And sometimes you're not really conscious of the effects that you're having on your middle managers, who are then kind of seeping that into some of their people that they're managing. And then the whole company's culture is completely rotten to the core. It's going to take a long time to change it, a real long time. The company told the Wall Street Journal that the search for a new CEO has been underway since the spring, implying that The Verge reporting was not the reason Korey was stepping down. Yeah, right. In light of the article, it's been a difficult few days for the company, co-founder John Rubio added, but we don't want to overshadow the announcement. Hassa has become CEO January 13th. Bro, that's her friend, Imagine how big that's being your friend and you're just completely dismissing her like she's any woman. Bloody hell, man. No loyalty in startups, isn't it? Hasselden mandate will likely involve turning around the company culture, and he may have relevant experience. Lululemon faced its own reports of toxic management, which commented in CEO another woman, resignation last year. In the aftermath of the scandal, Hasselden took control of the company, people and culture functions, the teams that they are directly responsible for, creating a healthy working environment. Okay, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Imagine being a firefighter of a CEO. You get hired just to kind of steady the ship and kind of enact some change culture-wise, and then you kind of, go to the next kind of complete shit show and then do the same. So yeah, that's quite cool for that dude. But yeah, I feel kind of sorry for Steph, to be honest, a little bit. But then again, I don't, because I'm sure she was a bad leader for a long time, and now it's sort of kind of finally caught up with her, and it's too late to kind of make those corrections. And again, she's probably set for life anyway. It doesn't really matter money wise, but again, people like this aren't necessarily driven by money, so that's not necessarily a point to bring up. But if that was a point of contrition, then it shouldn't be, because she's set. But she's gonna have to learn better, and if she is a serial entrepreneur, she comes back again with another startup, maybe that will be a much better proposition for people to work at, because she's gonna learn from this experience that she's been in. Especially, I just don't understand how, especially with how sensitive people are on social media and how everything's about mental health and shit. You can't be this toxic in the workplace. You can't treat your employees like this and expect to get away with it. Like, they're gonna throw you under the bus. Whether you're a woman, a person of color, I don't know, you're disabled in some way. Don't think you're gonna be able. No one's gonna stand for it. Like, they're not gonna stand for it. Especially if you're gonna work in a place for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. You're not gonna stand for somebody treating you like a absolute, like something they found at the bottom of their shoe. It's just not on, really, isn't it? Because effectively, you need those people to kind of make your company function, and you're treating them so poorly. But what can you do? Let's move on. What else is next on this list I wanted to talk about? Oh, driverless taxis are coming supposedly. Have you heard about that? This is a short little video here from, I think, Tech Insider or The Verge. Just quickly check this out. But it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Elon Musk autonomous vehicles that he was proposing for a while, but never, I don't think that actually have come out yet, the robot taxis. I think the idea was, when you are not using your own Tesla, that you could then kind of put it as part of a fleet of cars that would then go and ferry people around this local city that you live in. So that would obviously ease congestion in that respect. So you would have the ability to have those little boring tunnels that go underground and stuff, that can ease some traffic. And then again, not everyone needs a car, so people can kind of, sit in yours and stuff. That would be a pretty cool option to do. But this cool video, I think it's from Waymo. I think they do the technology that kind of powers most GPSs. I think so. But let's quickly check it out. An article video here from The Verge that I haven't actually seen, but let's quickly view it here. Oh, 7 minutes. I'm going to have to fast forward a couple of bits.
Hey, it's Andy with The Verge. I'm about to
Hey,
go
Andy.
for a ride in one of Waymo's fully driverless cars here in Phoenix, Arizona. As you can see, there's
I love how
no
they all have the
driver-
same way of talking and action wise. Like, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona because I'm trying to figure out, do we need autonomous vehicles or is it something for the future? And then they kind of go off camera. They have that weird way of talking, the Verge journalists or newscasters. It's a very particular way, but I guess it's like a YouTube native kind of way of presenting, isn't it? Right? Yeah. It's like, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's like that kind of sort of stuff, isn't it? Right? Yeah.
in the front. I'm not nervous. Are you nervous? I'm not nervous. Here we are, riding in a minivan with nobody in the front seat,
That's
with
so gnarly,
pedestrians and cyclists and other vehicles out on a public road. It's a surreal experience. Google has been working on self-driving cars for over 10 years now. In 2016, Google spun out its project as a separate company called Waymo, and since then, it's been testing hundreds of vehicles here in Arizona.
That's great. That's a great I think for Google to do because they've got so much data anyway in terms of Google Maps that they can harness to power some of these vehicles. And and again, look at this video that they've got. It's from Waymo. It's got a dad with two little kids that he's putting into a minivan to go take to the next destination. It's perfect, right? Imagine how many parents times will be saved and so much jams will be, taken out of from having the ability to kind of put their kids in a driverless taxi, especially for the parents who are like, you know what? Didn't a report come out recently about Uber having 3,000 cases of sexual assault or some shit? They were like, oh, it's only 10% of our rides, which is 10% too many really. So if you're a parent and you're a bit nervous about sticking your kids in a Uber, you can track the vehicle and you've got a picture of the person that's driving your kids around, this would be quite a cool option. And again, obviously, the obvious thing about it could also help with people drink driving and stuff. But yeah, I think it's quite a cool idea, man.
Mostly for an Uber-like ride-hailing service called Waymo One. A few years ago, I had the chance to ride in one of Waymo's driverless vehicles, but it was on a private and closed course. And since then, most of the trips that Waymo does in its autonomous vehicles, including the one that we took last year, have trained safety drivers in the front seat. Until now. It says, good morning, Waymo rider. Our destination is Baby K's Cajun Kitchen. It's asking me to start the ride, so let's do that.
Heading to Baby K's Cajun Kitchen. Please make sure your seatbelt is fastened.
All right, so we're pulling out of this
That is amazing. So they're basically all sitting in this little minivan, and there's literally no driver in the front. It's so cool
road.
to see.
Oh, there goes another Waymo car. As you can see, we're in Waymo Central here. They just waved to us. I don't think they knew that maybe there wasn't anybody in the front seat there. And then we just made a right-hand turn.
So
and
cool.
Changed lanes into the center lane. It's very natural. So here we come, some construction right here, which is very challenging for self-driving cars, and it kind of handled it with really no problem at all. It slowed down a little bit. Now it's changing lanes, and just kind of breezed past that construction site there as if it was being driven by a human. Quite honestly,
It would be so cool to see if this kind of get rolled out. I will leave the link for you guys to see, check the video out yourself. But I've been going to see what happens with this because effectively we haven't got to a point now. Because I was thinking about it the other day when I went to McDonald's, just before we went out to go watch the Anthony Joshua fight, right? I think so, or maybe it was a week before. I don't know, I don't remember. But I just remember walking into McDonald's and kind of thinking to myself, wow, it's funny how much has changed throughout the years. Like, you'd usually go there and always be, people on the tails shouting, oh, next customer, please, who's next? So you to come up and make your order. But for the most part, it's pretty silent. And the only person that's shouting is a guy or girl who's kind of screaming out the numbers that are coming up on the screen, right? That's it. Apart from that, no one's really shouting. Everything's done basically through a touchscreen, which is very, very intuitive, very easy to use. Because, sometimes you go to places, especially if you go to self-checkout points in supermarkets, you try to use their little touchscreen tablet thing they have for the checkout. It's always a ball ache to use. But the screen in McDonald's, a massive sort of rectangular screen they have there, is really easy to use, really attentive. It's really attentive, touch. There's a lot of tactic touch to it as well. Easy to swipe around, go backwards, delete things. Super, super cool to use. And again, you don't really talk to anyone. You just make your order, you scan your card, you pick up your little receipt, pick up your food, and you're off. That's it. You literally don't exchange one word unless you maybe want to get some dips and whatever it may be. But it's interesting that hasn't been rolled out to most places, especially when you look at supermarkets being a good example. especially when you look at Till. Sometimes, you know, the Morrisons I've got near me is just, you know, it's just, you know, you might as well be go back in time the way how slow it is in there, mostly due to the age of the people that work in there. But it's just ridiculously slow. Everything doesn't really work as well. But I'm also wondering is that, especially with the resistance people have with autonomous vehicles and the fact that they're going to price out, or they're going to effectively, you know, negatively affect cab drivers, especially people who are like working class, who are maybe juggling a couple jobs or working that to earn a bit more money to help them put their kids through school, or just have a bit more extra cash at the end of the month. It's going to really affect them, innit? Because why else would you want to drive a car that has a driver when you can drive a driverless car that's going to, you know, get to the place that you want to get to on time? You don't have the, you know, not say the bother, you don't have the bother of having to talk to somebody. You know, I don't know. You could maybe hire it for yourself if you want. You could maybe you could do a carpool thing with the driverless car. I don't know. Like I think it's the best option. I would definitely pick this over a driverless car if I had a driver enabled car. 100%, I'd go for the driverless car. Especially if I could imagine you had the option to go to like a coffee shop or like a Pret-a-Manger, because that's a good example of one, right? Where for the most part, those coffee shops don't really need attendees or cash point people. They probably just might need a couple people like manning all the hot items on the shelves or the sandwiches and shit, making sure they rotate them, making sure, you know, they're all the right ones on there. But per terms of the coffee, you probably just need a long queue, people just pressing what they want, it comes out, and then you keep it moving. And then maybe someone kind of making sure that they kind of replenish the coffees, change the filters and shit, or maybe it has a machine that can change the filters, replace the coffees themselves, all in house. They just basically press the button and press the screen. Because the Costa coffee machine we have in, or you've seen probably in most Sainsbury's and Tesco's, they have them in Tesco's too, right? The Costas, I'm pretty sure. The little machines that you use, they're really popular in the morning, because usually when I go gym and I come back from the gym and I'm maybe popping in to go get something, and I see some of the builders in the morning picking up their coffees and stuff, they're usually in a nice orderly queue, ordering their coffee before they go and work. It's really popular in the morning because, again, there's no communication, no need to exchange pleasantries in the morning. You just put your money, you just make your order. I think you put your money in first in the actual machine, make your order and keep it moving. I think that might be the best way to go, man. But I like it. It's a cool idea. It's a cool extension for Google, of course, because, you know, they've got all the data they need in terms of Google Maps. They can just kind of use that and kind of go from there, innit, really. But yeah, let's continue there. You can check that out yourself. Waymo. I'll put a link actually the video in the show notes for you guys to read it if you want yourself. Oh, this is funny news. Do you remember that Kickstarter, that bloody stupid cooler thing with the speakers and shit? It's officially gone under. I think this must have been the Kickstarter maybe that came across my radar the first. It might have been the first one. Either this or the notebook. There was a weird notebook thing or a pen. I forgot what it was, but this might have been one of the standouts in that all these fucking ads following me around. It might have been the standout when it comes to, like, you know, exemplifying what Kickstarter was about. Effectively, if you're not aware of it, it was a cooler that essentially had the ability to make entire drinks on it. You could, you know, it had a blender on the top, it had a Bluetooth speaker, and just, you know, all-encompassing cooler that you could effectively take to all your camping trips. And it's a whole entertainment unit, so you don't have to take your Bluetooth speaker and maybe some pre-made stuff. You could all basically make it all-encompassing in one unit. And for some reason, it just didn't work out. I don't know why. I think it might have been just due to the whole point of Kickstarter in the first place, where people are supporting an idea that hasn't been made, and the founders who are making the actual product themselves don't actually know how to make it like fit for market. They have an idea, they have a cool proposition, they have a theory, but they don't actually know how to produce something for the mass market or to make it commercially viable. So by the time the money comes into their coffers, they're already, you know, they're already in a wormhole of like litigation, of safety procedures, you know, that sort of stuff, and they just can't get around to it. It's a similar example, similar kind of experience I've had when I worked at startups previously who have been Kickstarters. They generally don't have a clue what they're doing. They're very good idea people, super creative, super entrepreneurial. Entrepreneur, not really, because again, that involves business. They're just really creative. They have an idea. They've obviously they're also trying to scratch an itch that they always had. Oh, you know what? I've always wanted this pen. I've always wanted a cooler that could do this. But it just doesn't work out as a commercial product because they have no experience when it comes to putting something ready for market, which makes me think why Kickstarter don't step in. And for the brands who are able to achieve their goal, they'll have like an advisory board of CEOs who have led companies, especially products that have been launched in markets such as, I don't know, Walmart and stuff like that. And they might step in and then kind of advise you as to how you can take your stuff to the mass market. That might be a good thing to do. But again, maybe they'll be like, it's not our responsibility. Or the Kickstarters themselves should try and seek those people out once they get the funding that they need to make them the actual product ready for manufacture. But they don't, of course, because, you know, they're idiots. They're greedy, narcissistic sociopaths who essentially think they can do no wrong. And they fuck around people's money, right? People back it, they don't get refunds. It's just a whole complete shit show. But it says the following: crowdfunding disaster, Coolest Cooler is shutting down and blaming tires for its downfall. Actually, you know what? Let me play the video. Let me see if I can get the video for it. Coolest Cooler Kickstarter. Do you remember this? Let's see if I can find it. The original video for it. Yeah, here it is. It's still up, you know. It's still up. Hold on. No, where's
That's
it?
the sound of a cooler coming down off the...
There's two there. There's one there. Okay, let's see. This one, yeah. Here we go.
That's the sound of a cooler coming down off the shelf. It's the sound of imminent fun. So why...
So I guess it's a big American thing, right? It's not really a big UK thing. People taking coolers out. There was a lot. What is that thing called? What are they called again? Adventure parks and stuff. I know some of my white friends in school used to go to those kind of places. Caravan parks, right? But I don't remember them. I don't remember the cooler being that big of a deal. I don't know. Maybe it is. If you've been to a caravan park, you can maybe tell me different. But I know my white friends loved going to those things during the summer. But maybe because we don't really have good weather in the UK. I don't know if it's different if you live in the countryside or lived outside London. But the cooler thing isn't a big deal. If anything, the most we have in London is people go to, like, you know, Hackney Fields and stuff. Maybe during the summer and do barbecues, but that's nothing. That's just people going to the Tesco's around the corner, buying that little barbecue tray thing and just, you know, smoking up some sausages and shit. But it's nothing that serious, really.
Why haven't cooler designs changed in almost 50 years? Boring
Because
coolers are
no one
boring,
cares.
break easily, and are a pain to get to and from your destination. I wanted a cooler that was really well built, yet had so much fun built into it that I would look for excuses to get outside and enjoy it.
Maybe some inventions, even though there's a need for it, there isn't really a need for it, right? Because that's a good pull proposition. He's sitting on top of a cooler on a hill somewhere. He stands up, and I don't know why that's a mark of a good cooler. What, it shouldn't roll down the hill? Well, it's got nothing in it. Like, I don't get that proposition, but and he's got this all green outfit on that if you squint, it makes it look like he's not wearing anything and he's bodiless.
So I created the coolest.
Again, on paper, great idea. It's an orange cooler.
The coolest is a complete redesign of what a cooler can
It
be.
looks pretty cool.
First, you've got this 18-volt rechargeable blender. You don't realize the number of places you could really go for a blended cocktail or smoothie until you've got a blender built right into the lid.
Exactly.
You're already carrying around a cooler full of ice and tasty beverages. Why not blend them up and become a summertime hero anytime, anywhere? And what's a party without music? The coolest comes with a removable Bluetooth speaker that connects to any smartphone to wirelessly stream music from up to 30 feet away. It's amazing where speaker technology has come in the last few years. You can skip songs and adjust the volume right from your phone, and this little box can really put out some sound.
Why
and
didn't
since
this
you've
work?
got that 18-volt battery for the blender.
It's a pretty easy proposition to make, like a product. I don't understand why it didn't work out. Like a blender on the top, a Bluetooth speaker, and essentially just your bog standard cooler redesigned to look a bit cooler with some wheelies, with a little with some wheels at the back, and obviously the handle that you can kind of, you know, tow it from place to place. Pretty simple, and the wheels look quite sturdy, so it can possibly cover some rough terrain, quote unquote. But I don't understand why this didn't make it to market. Again, let's just continue.
Why not get the most out of it? Maybe your camera battery is low, or maybe you have an iPhone and want to use it after 2 in the afternoon. Recharge your gear wherever you are with this waterproof USB charger. The party doesn't stop just because the sun goes down, and you shouldn't have to freeze your fingers searching endlessly for your favorite drink. The coolest has waterproof LED lights embedded in the lid so you can easily find what you're looking for with the push of a button. One of the biggest hassles of outdoor fun is hauling your gear back and forth from the car, and I've experimented with various ways to solve the problem. I love coolers with wheels, but I hate that they refuse to help carry anything else. The coolest has you covered with locking tie-down bungees, so you can carry
cool.
all
So let's
your
go back to the article and find out why this didn't work out, because it's obviously a cool proposition. So the company behind the coolest cooler, widely known as the biggest Kickstarter failures, is officially going out of business. An update sent to backers and the company's CEO, right? Then they're still doing it behind the paywall too. So imagine they're still trying to, like, you know, flummox the thing. Just make a public statement and be done with it, man. Ryan Gripper this weekend says the company is ending its operations and tariffs are to be blamed. The Gripper says that a tariff increase in China imports to 25%. Yeah, right. Tariffs now. Now you're blaming tariffs. You absolute wild. It was devastating to our business, and I know it was felt by many who, in one way or another, are consumers and thousands of small businesses everywhere. While the tariffs are certainly real, it's odd for this update to arrive 5 years after the coolest cooler originally showed on Kickstarter. Exactly, it's very odd. 5 years after, the campaign raised more than $13 million in 2014 to build a high-tech cooler with a built-in blender, and it's still the second highest grossing project of the platform after the Pebble Time Watch. The team ultimately put the cooler up for sale on Amazon before it even shipped, and all its owed products to the backers. In the end, it shipped roughly 2/3. So it did ship some of them, but not all of them. The company said its project is updated 2018. So you probably still can get, you maybe should get one. Maybe it's a collector's item, isn't it? Hello, Kickstarter, cooler backers. As you may know, shut up. There's always a risk of creating something new, and some projects won't end up working out, Kickstarter said in a statement. In this case, unfortunately, 1/3 of our backers won't receive the reward they were promised. We're working hard to make it clear that Kickstarter is not a store. And in the 5 years since this project was founded, we've taken steps to help creators be more transparent with backers, which they still aren't, right? They still aren't. There's many startups out there, I'm not going to name, who are complete, fraudulent fronts for, people's inventor tendencies. That's what it is, right? It's basically, do you remember those TV commercials where you could essentially get a patent for an invention you had, and you had to just send in some money or some forms, and you could get a patent for anything under the sun? This is essentially what Kickstarter's turned into. It's turned into, for all those people that were curious and quite inventor minded, had all these really wacky ideas about some things that you would need in the future. They could just go out there, effectively present a product in its concept form, get some backing on it, have that kind of video where they're standing in somewhere in situ. And I've always wondered, why can't you have a skateboard that also floats on water? So I created skateboard water, that sort of stuff. Like, they have those propositions. People are like, oh yeah, I've wondered that too. I've always wanted to skate on water. And then suddenly you get money, and then by the time your skateboard on water thing comes out, people start realizing that, I don't need a skateboard on water. I could just go on a jet ski. But anyway, call is settled with the Oregon's Department of Justice in 2017. The agreement involves paying backers $20 per cooler that wasn't received. It seems possible that backers might not receive their $20, particularly if the company's out of cash. The Oregon DOJ says the company has until 2020 to pay the remaining consumers. I wish more companies would do that. I wish more startups would do that too. I wish more departments of justice would do that too, and actually hold startups to account and make sure they kind of pay their backers, because they're quick to get the money. They're very quick to get the money and receive it, and then quote unquote tell you what they're doing step by step. Whether it's a lie or not. But then the moment you want your money back is the moment they start dancing, going quiet, start giving you all these different rationales, and you end up in a situation where you're in now. But yeah, no real loss in that regard. They treat their customers like shit. The product no one really wanted, and they couldn't deliver on it's just a pretty easy proposition. It's a caller with a bloody speaker. Anyway, I'm miffed by it. To say the least. Let's move on. Tesla Cybertruck spotted in public. Have you seen this? Elon Musk went to dinner in Nobu with Grimes, I think, and a few other friends, and he decided to take the Tesla Cybertruck for a spin, and it looked like a gigantuous machine beast on public roads, mate. I can't wait to see these things in real life. Honestly, it's gonna blow everyone's mind, especially when people start getting their own mods done to them. They start getting their own wraps and start making them look individualistic in that respect, less uniform. It's gonna look so cool to see these things on the road. And again, it's gonna push other car manufacturers to maybe try and get more concept cars out on the road. We need more interesting cars, man. I watched this documentary recently the other day of this really cool car collector guy who's basically got a collection full of cars that were ex-rally cars or ex sort of those kind of cross-terrain sort of vehicles, or cars that are basically made for the track that are kind of road legal. He essentially just buys those and just kind of does them up or makes them into new again, and they look incredible. Like, so interesting the way the cars were looked between let's say the late 70s to the early 90s. How amazing car design was. Interesting shapes, interesting applications, just like everything was interesting. It wasn't just like a wheelbase with just like a different shell on it. It was very interesting takes on everything, like weight distribution, engines, just the whole shebang. And this, I think Cybertruck definitely falls into that kind of bracket. So it's a quick video, I think from TMZ or someone. They took a video of him. So this is him in a car park, I think, of Nobu. Whilst they're in there having a dinner, obviously, everyone else is on the outside taking them. And this is the other thing as well, the free marketing that he gets from this. Every time he drives his car in public, it just gets all the eyes, right? So they're in there having dinner, and then they come out and they've got a whole team of people taking pictures. They've got obviously his own security guards, a guy there from Tesla who's obviously there's always a car behind the Tesla Cybertruck that's kind of pacing it or ensuring that it doesn't, I don't know, doesn't fail or doesn't, crash or anything. I'm not too sure what the car does behind it, but there's always a Model X or one of those maybe a Model 3 following it around. So this is Elon Musk actually getting into the Tesla himself. Left-hand drive, of course. It looks massive. It looks high as well. And he's having to jump in it. Oh, it's so cool, man. Look at the lights as they open the doors. Why is that guy covering the door as they're going opening it to go in there? Weird, isn't it? But it looks fucking awesome. It looks really bloody cool. You know what? I'm really interested to see what it looks like when it's road legal, when it's road ready. Like, is it going to look the same, or are they going to change bits of it, like side mirrors, indicators? Like, what's it going to look like? Little changes maybe on the door handle. I don't know if it's going to look exactly the same as it comes out when it's road ready or when it's in production. It looks so fucking cool, man. Look at that. And here he is in a car now, and he's taking off. Look how quickly it moves. It's such a beast, isn't it? I think it goes over a cone, right? Yeah. Look at that. And he ran a red light as well, which is funny. But yeah, that looks bloody cool. I can't wait to see that again, man. Wow. Whoever gets one, I'm jealous of you guys. I really am. Move on from that one. Oh, Sneakers and Stuff, Nike collabo. Probably my favorite one, I think I've mentioned it previously. I think before to somebody else, maybe to my friends. I like this collaboration. Sneakers and Stuff, as you guys are aware, did they start somewhere in Scandinavia and then they obviously launched in the UK or in London a few years ago? Great success. The shopping on Shoreditch gets, so much love. Every time I walk past, there's always people in there browsing and buying trainers. Again, probably one of the last, if anything, one of the first, no, probably one of the last kind of independent sneaker store brands or sneaker stores out there. There's not many that exist in the same shape as a kind of a Foot Patrol, and it seems to have captured the youth in that regard. So I like what they do there. They usually buy some good stuff, good selection of trainers, not necessarily limited to only kind of limited edition shoes. And they obviously have done a collaboration with Jordan brand, and I like the approach. It's a free pack. I think it's past, present, future. So you can kind of see the shoes that they've kind of picked there. And again, I like the fact that they've kind of gone for the, the easy kind of low hanging fruit in the Jordan 1, but they've also gone for some two other options too that aren't that kind of popular or maybe familiar with the clientele that they have, but also introduced them to different kind of silhouettes, which is the main thing I think the main power of a sneaker store. I think a sneaker store, especially for the local sneakerhead community, should serve as an outlet or as a platform or as a retail location for sneakerheads to get exposed to different models that they necessarily be interested in. And it's also a place for kids coming up who don't necessarily have the requisite level of buying experience or haven't necessarily seen all the models just yet because you're just new into the scene, like I was when I first got into it when I was like 18, 17. You just know what you know because what you know, innit? Like my local Foot Locker was my quote unquote sneaker store until I started, exploring and finding Slamming Kicks, finding Foot Patrol, right? Finding Bond, finding Hideout. That's when suddenly my eyes started to open up a bit, but I didn't know that previously. So it's cool when a sneaker store has an option to either buy select ranges or select kind of models from a brand. Sometimes they don't have that option because Nike can be a bit, especially some of the bigger brands, Nike, Adidas included, they can be a bit mafia-like in terms of what you can allow to buy. So some sneaker stores, if they get a limited edition account or a tier 0 account, it means that they also have to take certain stock from Nike. It's like a requirement. If you want tier 0, you have to have these models too. Happens a lot in skate stores. That's why some skate stores you see have just, every shitty Nike SB under the sun, plus all the other limited edition stuff they have, because in order to get that tier 0 account, you just have to take all their mainline, inline stuff that most of the skaters aren't going to wear and most of the sneakerheads don't give a shit about. So then you're left with all this product, which is a shame. But if you're a collector of shoes and you like SBs, that's why it's probably a good option if you want to get some cheap SBs to go to skate stores and you'll be able to find them on sale, because for the most part, most skaters don't really wear Nike SBs. But I like that Sneakers and Stuff as a brand, you decided to go in this direction. Again, I'm not too sure if it's something that came from Nike, because sometimes these collaborations can seem organic and can seem quite, you know, fairy tale story, but sometimes there's a lot of calculations behind it. It could be the Nike marketing department saying, look, these two models aren't selling that well. We need a brand that everyone respects to push them. They look at Sneakers and Stuff and they kind of get them to kind of get involved. So the article says the following. After releasing a teaser recently, Sneakers and Stuff have now officially unveiled a full up-and-coming collaboration with Jordan Brand titled Past, Present and Future, the capsule as the latest release to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Sneakers and Stuff's first store opening. Okay, cool. Features the Jordan 1 Mid, which you're familiar with, the Jordan 1 Mid, the Jordan Mars 270, and the Proto Max 720. So 2 Jordans that I can effectively say don't get any love from anyone else, because as a model, they both look hideous. Maybe I'd say at a stretch, I'd maybe go for the Jordan 7 270. Maybe it looks quite cool. It reminds me a little bit of an Air Trainer in that regard. A little bit of like an Huarache High. It's got the tongue similar of like a Jordan 5. But as an actual shoe, they look pretty crap. But again, I think it's a cool risk to take for Sneakers and Stuff, because what it will do is that if I'm a kid and I come in for the Jordan 1, which is the obvious shoe you'd want for that collection, and I can't find it in the store, I might be tempted to go for the other shoes, the 720 and the 270. I might be tempted just because they're there and they have the same sort of colors. It's effectively the same sort of color scheme. Interesting materials. I like the fact that it's off-white and sail kind of combo with a gray on it and the hits of red. I would go for it. So I think that's a genius part of it. So you might end up with a situation where, because it would be quite advantageous if they could sell it as a pack, but you know, it would cost too much and maybe they wouldn't be able to sell enough or make enough to make a return. That would be cool, because then you effectively, if you want the Jordan 1, you have to buy the other shoes. But I think it's cool that I'm sure the Jordan 1 sold that first, and then you have the option to get the other 2 pairs. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So yeah, the Jordan 1 is one of my favorites, I think, so far I've seen in that kind of white colorway. Again, it's simple, it's easy, but they've done it really well. A tumbled leather upper with sort of like these nubuck panels, it looks like, on the gray bits, and then the hits of red are also in that sort of like tumbled leather color as well, and like a crimson red color. I love it, man. Really, really nice colorway. I wonder what the inspiration behind it was, why that was decided for the 25th. Maybe it's like the mild gray, kind of like, you know, college athletics look, maybe. I think so, but I really like the look of it. Again, the other models are just not it for me personally. Maybe not enough red in them or gray in them. That shoe with that kind of chopper suit is madness as well. But you know, everyone's got to do what they got to do. And then yeah, they look how much better they look in the normal everyday outfit. The guy's got like a little body warmer on, a hoodie, got his little Jerry curl on there on the top, some nice combat trousers, and obviously I don't know what it's got a strap on it as well. Oh, those shoes are terrible, but they look pretty cool. If you're a fan of foam posits, you probably will like those as well. Let's go back to the article. The free sneakers are each inspired by Sneakersnstuff's first location in Stockholm, with the colorways derived from the original interior and logo. Okay, that's cool. Oh yeah, true. That is the original logo, isn't it? Ah, yeah, awesome. The past, present, future theme continues with the campaign imagery, which features Rui Hachimura, the first Japanese-born player to be drafted into NBA. Additionally, the capsule will launch at a unique AR. Why does that have to do anything to the image, past, present, future? Because he's always the future of the NBA. What's a Japanese-born NBA player have to do with sneakers and stuff? Aren't those guys from Stockholm? That's a bit of a stretch, isn't it, really? But anyway, the capsule will launch with an AR experience via the Sneakersnstuff app, which will allow users to play free basketball games in different past, present, future settings. Take a look at the Sneakersnstuff Jordan brand capsule. But I like it, man. I like the gallery. Okay, I like it. It's a bit naff. I'm not really down for all that AR stuff, but I like the fact that they've decided to do something interesting and different in their sneaker release. They've drafted this kid in, Japanese-born NBA player, which of course gives the some credence. He's probably a Jordan brand athlete as well, which is cool. Use the old logo, AR thing for the in-store experience. Yeah, I like it. They're already out. Jordan's the 6th, the 5th. I'm pretty sure they're already done, right? I'm pretty sure you can't get them now, innit? I'm pretty sure they're definitely sold out. Let me see here, sneakers and stuff. Let's go on the website, see if they've got anything up and coming releases. Let's see if they've got are they available? Oh, okay. Post Malone's got another pair of Jordans coming out. I mean, another pair of Crocs Jordans. That'll be funny. You probably should get some Jordans actually, innit? Post Malone to increase his swag. But maybe the reason why he's so swaggy is because he doesn't wear Jordans, right? That probably might actually add to his overall allure. Let me see if I can find them here. Jordan. Yeah, here. Are they available? I don't think they're still available, are they? They probably all sold out, I'm pretty sure. Okay, they're coming in 7 days. Oh, they're not even out yet. It didn't say the 6th on here. What day is it now? It's the 10th. It didn't say the 6th in this article. It says here on the article they're going to be out on the 5th of December, but they're not actually out just yet. So they're not out just yet. So if you still want to get yourself a pair, definitely head over to Sneakers and Stuff. I think you have to reserve them via the app, I'm pretty sure. The app is really easy to use. You have to pay any money. Just put your name in there. If you get picked for the raffle, you're able to buy them. And again, I'm a big fan of the store, a big fan of the founders that founded it. They're OG sneakers from back in the day on Crooked Tongues, and just do things the right way for the most part, I think. And they got some real cool people involved in there as well. So yeah, I like them, man. I'm a big fan of what they do. So definitely, like I said, the Jordan 1 is my fave for me, in my opinion. I think they've done really well. I think they'll age really good. Once they're worn in, they'll look bloody fantastic. Again, definitely my standout shoe from that pack. And again, I love the fact that they've got the old logo on it. I'll definitely keep the hand tag on if I had a pair myself. So yeah, definitely check them out. The Air Jordan pack from Sneakers and Stuff, available now at your Sneakers and Stuff locations. Maybe it might be available on Nike Sneakers app later on, but again, why bother with that app when you can just download Sneakers and Stuff and get your pair from there. Let's move on from that one. Oh, a DVS1 interview. Let's talk about this quickly and then we'll end from there. DVS1, one of my favorites, producers, DJs out there. And again, somebody that always gives some very insightful interviews. And he gave this very cool interview. This photo is very chilling and gets up on the screen, but this photo looks super scary. But anyway, he gave a very cool interview with DJ Mag recently. We don't really do the best editorials out there, but you know, they can sometimes dabble in the good stuff. But he kind of spoke about a lot of things I've been thinking about when it comes to DJing, when it comes to, you know, the art of getting better. And he made some two points that I thought really stuck out with me. I'm going to try and get them up here on screen, and we're going to quickly go through them before I have to leave. So this is the first bit I thought was very interesting, right? Let me see if I can find this quote. DJ technology is amazing. So to give you a bit of context about this, I think DVS1 has been known, DVS1 has been known for being a staunch defender of vinyl, right? Or staunch defender of DJing the quote-unquote right way. But in recent years, he's sort of softened up a little bit his approach, and he essentially stands in the kind of lane of like, technology is great, CDJs are great, looping is great, sync is great, but you have to use it more. You have to push it to its limits as an artist, and not just use it as a function to transition to one song to the other song, which I agree with. I think sometimes if you look at some of the bigger DJs from back in the days, even someone like a Ricardo Villalobos, who's not the most adventurous anymore with these kind of transitions, but he even, like, it's a workout on the decks. Like, they're really working. They are messing around with the EQ. Like, look at someone like a Jeff Mills, right? There's a famous video of Jeff Mills I'm sure you guys have definitely seen here. Let me see if I can get it up on here to give you an example of what I'm talking about. But I'm sure most DJ fanatics are familiar with what I'm talking about. But, you know, it's any excuse to see Jeff Mills, you know, fuck around on the decks is very greatly received. See if I can get it up on here. Come on. Maybe I've got too many screens open. Let me see if I can take away some of these stuff. Get this screen off as well. And this one, so I definitely have to go and increase my RAM. I think I'm affecting the way that I use the internet now with the staunch defense of all this. But anyway, let's continue here. So yeah, DVS1 has so Jeff Mills is a good example of a DJ that has a real cool way of doing it. Advisor, right? I think Resident Advisor did a really cool art of DJing with him to kind of show you how he does it. There's two videos. This one is, where's the infamous one? Fuck. Okay, let's just play this one anyway. Regardless, let's just play this. This is Jeff Mills mixing on Resident Advisor, and you see how hard he's working behind the decks, right? Every single minute he's tweaking a knob, he's messing around with stuff. Now again, most of it is nervous energy and just the way that he kind of does stuff, right? He's always sort of touching and feeling stuff. But I like the fact that it's a workout. He's actually working the decks. He's actually, what you deem a disc jockey would be doing behind the decks, right? Kind of crafting a sonic landscape through the tunes that they're playing on the turntable at any given moment. It's not just an exercise of mixing two songs together. You're sort of like, you know, using bass lines, melodies, and different parts of the song, especially on 3 turntables, and melding them in together into one different little soundscape. See that? Look. Oh, so beautiful. Anyway, so that's what basically he was speaking about. Like, if you're going to use technology, use it to the fullest extent and then kind of like push it to its limits. Do the things that we couldn't do with vinyl, with tech. So I like that he softened his stance about it a little bit, and he has a very interesting perspective behind it. He says the following, right? Let me read it from, I think, this bit. Yeah, so searching, floating, and running. Sorry. So DVS1 is a realist and a pragmatist. While simultaneously holding, I'll link it in the show notes for you guys to read it yourself. I'm going to quickly read out this bit I like. While simultaneously holding onto plenty of youthful idealism and faith in the simple power of sound systems, a bunch of people and the kick drum, SOS isn't about rallying against change or looking for the past. It's an evaluation of the past 2 decades where we've seen a digital revolution in music. In tandem with the increasing commercialization of dance music and DJ culture, it's beginnings of a plan to protect the culture and think about our collective future, which is great. If there's a sense that something has been lost during these last few years, then it's something intangible and hard to define. It's how you feel when you invest your time and effort into seeking out the very best of something, which we all should be doing. The thing that you really speaks for. And this authenticity is very much where SOS is focused. But our instant access digital culture has more obvious effects, not least of which is the fact that current software and hardware have made being a DJ extremely easy. Another repeat topic that DVS1 has strong opinions about. He says the following: everyone can do it, and it's everywhere, you know? Everyone can go online, download the quickest DJ software now. Everyone can press sync. Techno is played in every clothing store and every elevator and taxi cab. The dropping of the barrier to DJing has allowed many who otherwise wouldn't be able to do it, which can be viewed as a positive or negative depending on your opinion, but it's inevitably devalued the craft while contributing to an expressional growth indeed, which is true, right? It happens all the time. The fact that podcasting is so easy has invited everyone else to start a podcast, which means there's a lot more podcasts that suck. That's not to say in the beginning when it was hard to do, it wasn't a lot of shitty podcasts out. Cool, there was, but for the most part, the amount of hurdles you have to jump over just to get your stuff on an or just to get an RSS feed in the beginning probably would have immediately kind of rejected a lot of people, kind of turned them away. They would have been like, you know what, it's too much effort, I can't be bothered. But the fact that you can essentially, you know, start a podcast via an Anchor account on Anchor app, you don't really, you know, it kind of effectively invites the whole world into the podcasting world, which then effectively slows the innovation because everyone just does whatever's the low-hanging fruit is. And it's happening a lot in the DJ world. Now I feel like there is a bit of a shift. I feel as if like the consumer is savvy enough to understand where they need to go if they just want, you know, commercial, hands in the air, we don't care sort of rah-rah DJing. And also I think consumers are savvy enough to know where they could go somewhere where it's going to get a bit weird. It's going to get a bit freaky. The stuff that you're going to hear is going to be a bit different. The people around you are going to look different than anyone else you've seen in your life. And I think people like that mix. I don't think there needs to be an either or. There just needs to be an understanding that that is one thing and that over there is another thing. And you have to decide as an artist yourself, where do I sit? Where do I sit? I don't think you can sit in both. I don't think it's advantageous to sit in both. I think it's good to have the ability to play for both, but you shouldn't sit in both. You should be in one camp. I'm going to be over here on this side with the artist. I'm going to be over here on this side of the commercial ability of it and the fans. Up to you. It continues here. DVS says the following here. Technology is amazing. There's so many options, so many possibilities. But what's shit about it is that everyone's using the presets. It's like going to a studio, buying an amazing keyboard and never getting past the presets or going deeper into it. People talk a lot about record collection and my vinyl purism, but I'm not against technology. Actually, this year I went almost all DC DJs to my gigs. And if I'm going to use technology, I'm going to push the boundaries of technology. I'm going to use multiple decks, effects, and everything I can to push myself to my limits and to go past them sometimes, which I agree with. I think for me, it's been a bit difficult, especially in the places I play. Most of the systems I use, the mixers are just about working. I can just about get the channels to work, just about get the EQs to work as intended to be. The moment I press the flipping effects button, everything kind of distorts. It gets all weird. So I don't necessarily use the effects to a certain extent, but I have started mucking around with the loops a little bit more. I've gotten a bit adventurous with this way that I phrase songs in, what I loop, what I don't loop, how I mix. It's not just simply cutting out the bass and fading in the other song. I'm trying to do stuff a bit different. Maybe for 30 minutes, I'll just mix in with the highs only. I'll maybe mix in, maybe off a 4 beat count, just to kind of make stuff a bit more interesting. And again, those are things that I'm doing myself purposely at this lower level, so that I know that suddenly when I get the opportunity to play at a higher level, I'm definitely going to bring my A game. And this is the following: this evaluation of DJing to an art form is key to understanding DB's position on the other contentious DJ talking point: cameras in clubs and raves. He's spoken in the past about Berghain's ban on filming, his personal preference of a no phones dance floor, and about how to translate the values of tolerance and diversity into actual real life or real world strategies or guidelines, including what we might call phones in clubs etiquette, which I agree with, right? We're never going to get a full ban on phones in some places, because I think for all the people that love the Berghain, which I do, I'm a big fan of Berghain. Just have to look at my channel to see how many times I've spoken about Berghain in Berlin. I know that there is the same amount of people who criticize and blame and get offended or get annoyed when the Berghain rejects them or doesn't let them in. And they also get annoyed that they can't use their phone, right? You're effectively telling somebody that's born in the year 2001 or 2000 or 1998 who hasn't known a life without a smartphone, right? I'm old enough to be in a generation where I've used the Nokia. I've used all iterations of mobile phones in that regard, right? Especially the modern day ones. So I know what life was like before having a mobile phone. I know what life was like having to carry around a digital camera and a mobile phone, right? That was the life that I had, especially when I was going around doing the whole vlogging and blogging thing. I had a digital camera that I used all the time because my phone camera wasn't up to par. So I know that life. So if you tell me to like not have a smartphone in the club or on a dance floor, it's not that big of a deal. I can do it for an hour or two. But if you're somebody that's grown up, effectively come out of your mother's womb with a device like this, it's going to be quite difficult to do. So I kind of get that. But I think what you can do is enforce the dance floor etiquette. I think that's a good idea, right? The idea that you could have some kind of rules and regulations around how you conduct yourself on a dance floor with your smartphone is great. Maybe the fact that maybe there aren't no phones on the dance floor is probably a good idea, so you're not bashing into people and dropping people's drinks or stepping people's toes. And then maybe if you want to take pictures out away from the dance floor, fair enough. But once you come on the dance floor is for dancing. I think I heard people say that before in their flyers and shit, which is a good way to go about things. It's not as far as Berlin, but I think as a culture, you know, when you go to Berlin, for the most part, even just regular bars that aren't Berghain, people don't use their phones and take pictures, or, you know, they'll have their flash on and stuff like that. They're just being courteous to everyone around them and not trying to, because that's the thing with phones. It takes you out of the environment. It takes you out of the moment. Have you ever been at a table eating with friends and somebody's using their phone? It just suddenly takes you out of it. You're not really having a conversation anymore. You know what I mean? Anyway, continues here. There are, of course, those in clubland who feel the current etiquette of cameras in the clubs is patronizing and overly serious in a scene that's supposed to be fun. After all, techno isn't your dad, but perhaps this issue of cameras becomes more acute in the more purist areas of dance music, where self-expression might have many forms and where freedom is directly related to the assured anonymity and safety. In this context, the reason camera phones have caused such contrition or consternation in techno culture is not difficult to understand. Techno generates energy at the point of contact. Its power lies in the ability to create community in the moment. A techno record has no influence when it's sitting on the shelf waiting to be played. It can only work when its magic is activated in real life, which I 100% agree with. But attempting to create and document something that is very nature here and now, we limit it, put a frame around it, attempt to freeze it in time, and because techno's true power is to lift and unite and exist now, which I agree with. I think that's why I've tried to, I'm contemplating starting an Instagram account, sort of like to kind of latch onto my zine. I had a zine that I produced for a while. I'm probably going to do it now anyway. Fuck it, I'm just going to do it. I had a zine that I had previously, a physical one that was called Creeper zine that I put out. That essentially I collated all these images from around the world, from around London when I was going out and exploring London underground warehouse culture and stuff. And I used to post them. I used to kind of, print them, put them in the zine and hand them out to local record stores. And that was a great time. I loved it. It was a great experience. But over time, I stopped doing it, right? Because I felt as if like you couldn't necessarily capture the magic. It just got a bit strange. But I think what I might do nowadays or going forward is that I might actually, because I think it's hard to capture the feeling of being in a nightclub and listening to somebody shelling and listening and interacting with somebody really cool and just being in that moment. It's really hard to kind of capture it. So what I might do now going forward, especially what I'm going to do, is I'm still going to produce a physical copy of the zine. I'm going to hand it to record stores and stuff. So if you're in a record store, you'll be able to find my zine and take it for free. But I'm also going to have the ability to have a smartphone and use my smartphone in clubs, and obviously have people send in their clips of them at amazing parties and upload them onto the Instagram stories of that app that I use. So of the Instagram account that I have, right? So you'll be able to, if you're at this particular underground place and you want to send in a story of what you're doing there, you can tag me in the picture and I'll kind of repost on my story. And I also have my ability. So then effectively you have all these different people around London, all around the country, sending in their clips of their shows and stuff, and then they'll have the ability to have people post up their flyers on that account. It'll be a really cool, immersive little kind of account that people can kind of post on and get familiar with. And again, it will just capture the magic of the community, because I don't think you can capture the magic of a record of what it feels like to be in situ with all these different people that share the same experience of you, but you can maybe capture the kind of the community that involves yourself around it, so that next time, because I think all it takes is one picture for you to go like, you know what, I want to go to that event. You see one girl that looks like you see one boy that looks like someone you want to talk to, and then suddenly you want to go to that event. So maybe just having some record of it is important, because again, I don't think we can do it in London or in the UK. We're just not built the same way as other European cities are, where, and again, when you go on holiday, you're a bit more detached from your phone. You just want to experience it. It's different. It's not the same as being in London. We just can't do it. People are just a bit too ingrained in their phone. I look at Fold is a good example. Fold has a no photos policy, but I've seen pictures of Fold all over the place, right? People are taking videos at Fold. People are doing photo shoots in the smoking area. You know, it doesn't work in the UK for the most part. So contrition, but I tend to capture it there now. The scene is at its best when the entire room is active, participating and locked into the moment. Phones and cameras and social media they're linked to can draw people away from those communal moments, reasserting the ego wish to document, record and share. If enough people are on their phones, it can generally kill the vibe, which I agree with. And how can a club be a site of freedom and expression if people are self-conscious about being filmed or photographed, which I definitely agree with. I think that's probably the kind of beauty of a place like a Berghain or clubs in Berlin, for instance. It's like they are, in all intents and purposes, the definition of safe spaces. Now, it might be difficult to get in. There might be some discrimination involved before you actually enter the space. There might be some rules you have to abide by, what you wear, what you look like. Okay, cool. But once you're in there, it's safe as hell. People just let you do what the fuck you want, right? Apart from, you know, taking drugs on a dance floor, you're free to do whatever you want. Like literally whatever you want, which is amazing to see. It's notable that DVS1 doesn't see the current phone in club culture as kids these days. Generational critique. We're all subject to the enticing warm glow of our phones and the inviting cool to narcissism offered by the various social media platforms. Very few of us are immune from the charm, even as we observe the damage it's wreaked. DVS is the following. In the last 20 years, we were handed technology like phones and never told what to do with it. I've seen many 40-year-olds abuse their phones and social media. It has nothing to do with age. It has to do with the fact that they don't have any thought about how those things are interconnected, which I agree with. I can almost give more credence to young people than the old ones, because I think the older guys should know better. The young people have grown up with it. But the reality is that we're all insecure human beings, and we've all been handed something that magnifies everything we do and are. Our insecurities, our positivities, and our negativities. So definitely check it out. I think it's a really cool interview, very in-depth, and again gives a good idea of what he's about as a person. I definitely recommend you check out some of his interviews that he's done previously, especially one he did about just the art of DJing. I like the fact that he's promoting that. I think he's doing actually a conference that kind of celebrates people just learning. I think he's fed up of going to conferences where they're talking about marketing yourself as a DJ and there's no real education on like how to get better as an artist, like where to go to look for songs, how to approach your DJ sets. None of that stuff. It's all about what hashtags to use, what time to post and stuff, which is not the important thing, because you need to get better. You need to get sets and reps in. You need to be playing out regularly in front of different kind of crowds. Mixing up the stuff that you play, mixing up the order you play them in. Your approach to DJing needs to be completely different. You need to kind of commit yourself to it 100%, and then maybe over a period of time you can then become an overnight success and become, you know, the next DVS1. But to suggest that you can cheat your way through it by using hashtags is kind of ridiculous. But you know, what do I know? What do we know? Anyway, the show's over now. It's been an hour and 20. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have you as my guest. This is the Agostinho Zinga Show, episode number 269. If you're listening via the podcast app, of course, leave me a 5-star review so people can find the show. If you're watching via the YouTube app, please smash that like button, click subscribe. Let me know what you think of the show in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. And until then, thank you very much for checking me out. If you're crossing the road, make sure you look left and right and keep yourself hydrated. Peace. Bye. Laters.